you doing, baseball fans? Let's get to our first story, and the Rays have made a historic signing Zach Eflin to a 3-year, $40 million deal. Believe it or not, that is the biggest contract in Rays franchise history. Isn't that crazy? The Rays, they just don't spend the big bucks like that. But 3 years, $40 million for Zach Eflin. That's right around an AAV of about $13 million per season. He'll make 11 in the first two, and then $18 million in 2025. It is still pending a physical, but Bob Nightingale was first on this story. But also an interesting little tidbit here. He mentions that the Red Sox offered the same contract, but Eflin is a Florida guy. He lives in the Central Florida area, and the Rays, they just had the advantage there. As a Red Sox fan, I would have liked to have had Zach Eflin. It does bum me out just a little bit when you got kind of beat out by the Rays there. I mean, you couldn't have offered maybe $5 million more. I don't know. But hey, the Red Sox, they had a set limit on him. It would have been nice. I would have liked Eflin. I think he would have been a nice boost for the Red Sox there. But for the Rays, this is a great addition for their rotation. McClanahan was fantastic last year. Glasnow is going to be coming back this year. Rasmussen and Springs had good seasons last year. And Eflin's going to go right into the middle of that rotation. I think it's a solid addition. Now, Zach Eflin, if we take a look here at the numbers, an ERA of 4.04, but the FIP was a lot better at 3.56. The strikeouts were down from last year, from over the last couple of years, but his walks are very good, under 2 walks per 9, and he had a career low in home runs per 9. xERA of 3.27. Let's go take a look at the StatCast page. Average exit velocity was absolutely fantastic in the top 5%, in the top 6% in hard hit percentage. You see the Reds here with X batting average, X slugging, barrel percentage. Like we mentioned with the walks, he keeps the walks down in the top 10%. Also has good extension. He gets the ball out a lot closer to the plate. So Zach Eflin, I really like this move. I think for the Rays, I think it's just a solid addition. Sure, he has not really had a lot of luck with the health. If you go take a look here in the last couple of seasons, 18 starts back in 2021, only had 13 starts last year. So let's see how the health goes. But the Rays, they tend to be pretty good at managing these guys when it comes to injuries. So I think the Rays, this is a great addition for their rotation. Speaking of the Red Sox, let's get to our next story, and they are showing interest in outfielder Mitch Haniger. I think this is an absolutely perfect fit. But John Morosi, he was the one to report this today. Here was the tweet. The Red Sox and the Rangers, we have talked about Mitch Haniger with the Rangers prior, but the Red Sox have jumped into the party. Other teams that have shown interest are the Dodgers, the Rangers, like I mentioned, the Giants, and the Angels. And I still think the Mariners, absolutely. I think he could go back to Seattle as well. But I think it's great that the Red Sox are in on this. I actually made a tweet not too long ago, going back to November 21st. What was that, like 10 days ago? I said, "Dear Santa, please give me Mitch Haniger in a Red Sox uniform for Christmas. Thanks." Why? Because look at the spray chart over the last couple of years. Look at all those dingers out to left field. This guy would be an absolute monster at Fenway Park. Now, health has not been on his side as of late. Last year, he was limited to how many games here? 57 games last year. But the year prior, 39 home runs, 100 RBIs, had a 485 slugging. I think if he's healthy, this bat could be an amazing fit at Fenway Park. Now that the Red Sox have lost out on Zach Eflin, what's going to be their next move here? They're trying to get some guys here. So if they had the money for Zach Eflin, I think they're going to start to try and prioritize that money for some of these other players out here. And Mitch Haniger, I absolutely think he could be a fit for the Red Sox. For our next story, let's get back to some pitching, and Matthew Boyd is heading back to Detroit. John Heyman here with the tweet. Matthew Boyd back with the Tigers. The deal is for 1 year, $10 million. There's also going to be some incentives as well for around $1 million. Hey, if you remember Matthew Boyd, he was with the Tigers for his entire career. Ended up having some elbow issues last year and ended up getting non-tendered. Ended up going to the Seattle Mariners, pitched out of the bullpen for them. But Matthew Boyd, I've always been a bit bit of a fan of Matthew Boyd. Now, he had to kind of recreate himself a couple of years ago. He was always just trying to be so strikeout heavy, but he got away from the strikeouts, tried to pitch more to contact, and his numbers overall ended up being pretty good a couple of years ago, but like I said, had the elbow problems. But last year, out of the bullpen for the Mariners, had a 1.35 ERA, a 3.19 FIP. Now, if you go back to the season that he had in 2020, look at that ERA of 6.71, the FIP of 5.78. Now, the strikeouts, if you go back to 2019, he had about 11 and a half strikeouts per 9, but he started to focus a bit more on ground balls, fly balls, and the numbers overall in 2021 ended up being better despite lower strikeouts, but he was walking less guys, he was giving up less home runs. ERA was at a 3.89, FIP was at a respectable 4.10, and the numbers were pretty good last year. And I think for the Tigers, hey man, this is a guy where he's just going to give you more depth in this rotation. If he can just get back to being fully healthy, end up getting a full season out of him, this could be a huge boost for this rotation. Matt Manning was pretty decent last year over 12 starts. You're going to be getting Spencer Turnbull back. Eduardo Rodriguez, he was a bit up and down. He kind of disappeared there for a little bit last year. But I think for the Tigers, obviously a disappointing season last year, but I think there can be a lot of improvements made just within. I think a lot of these guys can just try to have better seasons next year. Maybe add another free agent here, another bat. But I like this move for the Tigers. I always like me a good reunion. And for our last story, let's talk some juicy trade rumors. The Guardians are showing continued interest in Sean Murphy. Here is the tweet from John Morosi. Sources say Guardians among the most active suitors for Athletics catcher Sean Murphy, 2021 Gold Glove winner, could be dealt by the end of the winter meetings. Now, the Guardians are not the only team that has shown interest in Sean Murphy. The Red Sox and the White Sox have been connected with him this offseason, and teams like the Cardinals, the Astros, and the Yankees could definitely use some help when it comes to catching. But the Guardians, they have had interest in Sean Murphy for quite a while now. If you remember, going back to the trade deadline, they were having discussions over Sean Murphy, and for good reason. If we take a look here on Fangraphs, Sean Murphy, among all catchers that had at least 100 plate appearances, Sean Murphy was third in Fangraph WAR, only behind JT Realmuto and Adley Rutschman, who had a fantastic rookie season. For Sean Murphy, it is not going to be cheap to get this guy. Why? Well, first off, he's really good. And let's actually go take a look here at his numbers. Last year, hit 250 with a 332 on base, 426 slugging, 18 homers, 66 RBIs. But he plays phenomenal defense, 15 on the defense last year in Fangraphs. He's an all-around great catcher. So he is going to be pretty expensive. And another thing about Sean Murphy, the reason that he is going to cost a lot, is he has a lot of control. He's not a free agent until 2026. So we got 23, 24, 25. You got 3 more seasons of Sean Murphy. That is absolutely fantastic. So if you take a look at the value here, you're looking at around $51 million worth of value. So I have put together a trade here for the Guardians. They do have an advantage because they have a pretty deep farm system. So they definitely got the prospects to get this done. And for the A's, hey, they're looking for prospects. So the big one that I have here is Valera, George Valera. He is their number 2. So with him, though, I understand that might be a bit tough to give up, but he would close the gap when you take a look at his value, over $25 million worth of value. Now, sure, could you swap him out? Maybe you could put in a Rocio instead, maybe put another guy in there as well. But for my trade that I've put together, he is leading the way. I've got some other guys here. I got Bibby. I got Allen. Tanner Bibby is their number 6. Logan Allen is their number 8. And I also have Tana. Jose Tena is their number 16 prospect. So to me, the Guardians, because they have so much depth in their farm system, they could absolutely put together a trade. I think this would be really good. They do have Bo Naylor. Now, he has shown a lot of promise on the offensive side. Scouts wonder a little bit about his defense long term. With Sean Murphy, you're getting a sure thing. The Guardians, they were a really fun team last year making the playoffs. He would make their team so much better. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. What do you think of this trade? Tell me a trade that you would do if you're the Guardians. Tell me some other trades with some other teams as well. And let me know what you think of all the stories that I mentioned in today's video. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.